everybody, and welcome to Break Time Conversations, a YouTube channel where I have conversations around education. I have been a teacher all my life, and along my journey, I have met so many interesting and inspiring people. And so I decided to document my conversations with them here so that you too can hear their stories and the amazing work that they do. I'm here today with Saakshi Singla. She's a LinkedIn contact and she wears many, many, many hats. She's a child development expert. She's a gender equality parenting coach. She's a counselor. She's a speaker. She's a writer and so many more. I can't even keep count. Saakshi, thank you so much for being here today.
Pleasure, Anupa.
So today we're going to be talking about gender equal parenting and education in schools. Saakshi, I'm going to hand it over to you and hear your views on this very, very interesting topic.
Thank you so much. Pleasure is all mine, Anupa, to be here, to be able to speak to many more people about something which is very, very close to my heart. So being a parenting coach who's been there for almost 2 decades, seen a lot of children grow up, a lot of parents grow up as well, along with the children. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of our problems, and I would put it at some more than 90% of our problems actually go back to how we are parented, how we are educated, the environment that we grew up in, the parenting styles, the teaching styles, and we know all that, right? But what we've not done too much, or we've not put a lot of intention into is the way we've been parenting, the way we've been educating through the gender lens. Is it the right thing to do? And if yes, then why do we still have so many problems in this world and we've not been able to find the solution? As a counselor, I've been seeing so many of these problems going back to the fact that we are parented differently as girls and boys. And we are also educated sometimes differently in schools as girls and boys. But what does brain science tell us? That though we are different in how we look and our bodies are different, our brains are exactly the same. So a brain in a woman's body and a man's body is exactly the same. Yes, there could be a small variation in the size, but that's also because men and women are generally different sized people. The problem is that we've always thought of girls as, soft people who need protection, who need to be taken care of. But we don't see that happening in the world quite a lot, right? So we know that women need the protection and they are the softer of both the genders. Why do we see so many problems which are, male dominance, women being in abusive spaces, aggression? Can we root it back to the parenting and the education? I think we can. Because when we've got both girls and boys growing up in our homes, we tell our girls very often that they are the ones who need to be, for example, helping mom in the kitchen. Or the other narrative is that girls should not be doing anything because they are princesses and they are not the ones who have to grow up and provide for a family tomorrow. And we don't know the kind of family they're going to go into. So let's give them a throne to sit on. Both the narratives, I feel, are a problem. The same thing carries on in the schools as well. So you will hear more boys being punished for the naughtiness that they bring to the class than the girls. So when I talk about gender equality in both these spaces, I always want to talk about that it's not just a girl or a woman's problem. It is what we do with our boys as well. So in the same breath, if we now look at boys in our homes and in our schools, um, they they are people who need to be strong. They cannot cry. They are kids who are from very young age told that they need to, grow up, provide for the family. They are the ones who have to take maths. They are the ones who have to do engineering. Uh, Girls really don't like maths, but boys cannot do without it. Um, and it's good to be strong. It's good to be aggressive. Um, and we see that everywhere. We see that in our parenting. We see that in media representation. We see that in schools. Um, and why I talk about it so much is because, Anubha, every case that I've taken till now, and I've been counseling for a very long time, has a gender unequal narrative somewhere running in it. Could be very small, could be very large, but it just goes out to say that if we are not going to, bring that difference in our lives today, in that narrative, we will never be able to handle the problems that we see in the world. And what are the problems? Aggression in men, alcoholism in men, a lot of risk behaviors which we find very difficult in men are maybe coming from the narrative that is running at home or in school, where they're expected to be rowdy, where they're expected to be boys will be boys kind of a narrative that they've lived with. And the problems that we see with girls, and we see so many of them, there is a dominance, there is a problem with not having the courage to stand up and maybe work for their own financial dependence. Being in places where we are very happy on Valentine's, getting diamonds and flowers from the men. But then we also expect those men to come back home and cook with us in the kitchen. So I think it's very lopsided. And where is it all starting from? It's starting from our homes, it's starting from our schools. I remember when I was young, and I'm sure you would remember that as well if you were in a co-ed school, everything was segregated on the basis of gender. So you make a separate line, girls separate line, boys separate line. Girls will be doing more home science kind of stuff, boys, and this is still happening. We think it is not, but it is still happening at so many places. It does start from the school, starts a lot from our home. And it just seems very simple in my head because I work in these things and I can see the root and where it goes. What if we just make sure that whatever we do at home is not gendered? So our books are gendered, our toys are gendered, our clothes are gendered, our conversations that we make with our children are gendered. We also see a lot of these problems actually starting in both girls and boys at a time when they hit puberty. So if you look at the research, a little before the girls hit puberty, their self-esteem dips rock bottom. And in boys, we see different kinds of problems. Only, again, I feel because parenting is still not a very well-known training discipline. If a parent does not understand how, for example, a child's brain grows into a teenage brain, or the fact that actually speaking, there is no difference between a girl and a boy brain, and hence we need to give them all kinds of stories, all kinds of books. So again, research the male protagonist in children's literature, I think is you'll find a percentage of 70 to 80%, or maybe 90% of the books who have the boys as the male protagonists very often. Media representation, everywhere we see, we'll talk about girls are nurturing, girls are sweet, girls are soft. So girls end up playing with dolls. So when you go, now if you Google and say toys for girls and toys for boys, the toys for girls section will come out as a pink section with beautiful t-shirts with pretty written on that. cooking utensils, ironing boards, Barbie who don't look like normal people. Google boys toys, and you see blue. You see t-shirts which have legendary Brave written on them. You have all your mechanics, your um, figurines which are talking about, Brave, whatever characters are all in the boys section. So how early are we socializing them into um, somebody they could be anybody. So if a boy was, for example, playing with a doll, all hell breaks loose. And I can keep going on and on. There's so many examples I can give. Thank you, because I really want to talk about this and have more people joining this movement, because I feel that I've found a way to handle some of the problems in this world. And it starts from our home and from our schools.
Yeah, I mean, so much of what you said is just so true. But you know what? It seems to be so deep rooted. And like you said, it started from our childhoods and the way our parents dealt with us. And for them, it started when they were kids as well, right? So it's so right how everything is gendered. And I think we're all guilty. I'm also guilty. I have two girls and a boy. I have tried hard of late, because you hear more about it. And my daughters have tried hard to help me realize that, it doesn't mean that a boy cannot cry and, things like that. When I was growing up, my mom, she was that generation that told me girls should be seen and not heard, But because I rebelled, I was as loud as I could be. And I had a dad who supported me. So, but it's sad. I mean, I can't change the way she thinks. Sometimes when my son cries, she keeps saying, boys can't cry. But, it's the generation that she comes from. And I think it's up to us, like you said, up to you and me to slowly have these conversations and change things. So I was just thinking while you spoke that it's going to be so difficult to try and change families. Like, how are we going to go into each and every family? But for those of us who work in schools, maybe we can, try and bring about that change, start making an effort to bring about gender equality. So do you have some very simple tips for, for teachers or for school owners and leaders, how we can, bring about this change in our schools?
Yeah, sure. I think everywhere, either at home or at work or at school, what is most important is that we get ourselves to get sensitized by this topic. We don't talk about this. So when we are developing the curriculums in schools, I don't think it even occurs to anyone in the industry to think of it like that, because we think that at schools we are pretty equal, girls and boys coming are studying the same curriculum, the books are the same. But again, a lot of research that I've done shows that the way our textbooks are written, for example, if we can bring a change there. So very early in our reading books, we always see mom in the kitchen. And even when we are teaching the children to speak or read, what they read is that women work at home, men work outside, and it is there in our textbook. That needs to change. A lot more talk on gender equality, I think. So the people who are building the curriculum, the school owners, the headmistresses, the teachers, I feel that they need to go through a training, a workshop, or whatever, where they can see what we are talking about. And for example, how do I talk about it? I talk about all this with numbers. If I take a group of teachers to see the kind of media representation that we have in our country and many other countries, where you'll see, for example, a car being sold, and the woman is always sitting on the bonnet and the man is driving the car. Now, the more we show this, the more we bring it out as maybe a gender equality workshop, we would have sensitized the teachers who have to work, because this is not something that once you know, you can't unsee it. I think that's the most important thing. And the rest, I guess, when we are sensitized and we feel, yes, this is right, girls and boys are not different. And we can go back into our lives and see how this inequality has troubled our relationships, or the places that we've, firsthand found that experience, we will be very committed to not do that to our children. That's, I think, the first step. Many other things that come to my mind is don't talk about children as girls do this, boys do this. Don't make scenes in a way that they are gendered. Make sure that they are encouraged for all kinds of activities. See how the school is working with the girls when it comes to big clubs or MUN, or when you go to 10th or 12th, when the selections are done, how many girls are being actually elected to the executive committees than the boys. And a lot of good schools, I think, are looking at this very well, because girls are always scoring higher than boys. But if girls are scoring higher than boys in schools, then why do we only have just about less than 1% of CEOs in the Fortune 500 companies as women? It's a pivotal question, a question which I think the school owners, the teachers, schools in general, systems need to think about, because there must be something that we are not doing right. So much, again, I can speak about, but I think just to start with seeing that there is a problem is a good start.
Yes. And like you said, start talking about it, because sometimes we just tend to not talk about these things. But thank you. I'm so glad we were able to have this very, very important conversation. And I have learned something today. I mean, I know I've heard it here and there. I keep seeing your posts, but actually, hearing it from you today was really an eye opener. And I hope that many more will hear this conversation and start having these conversations in their own homes, in their schools. And Saakshi, thank you so much. I really enjoy all your LinkedIn posts, and I hope that your message will spread far and wide.
Thank you so much, Anupa. Thank you so much for joining the bandwagon, because I think all that we really need to do is to keep finding more people who can speak this language, because I think this is going to change the world. And thank you for giving me this chance to
change the world together. Thank you so much for being here, and bye for now.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.